When the lights start shining down on the desert of Arizona on a Monday night, you know it's time for another edition of the Total Nonstop Racing Grand National Series, sponsored by Schue Lawn Care Service. It's the Phoenix 150. Some people debate whether or not Phoenix Raceway is a short track or not, but one thing you can't debate, Garrett, is that we're in store for some great racing here tonight. Hello, everyone on the World Racing Network. Glad to have you with us here tonight. I am Mitchell Adams, joined once again by my broadcast partner, Garrett Gleason. And Garrett, Phoenix Raceway, this track, a personal favorite of mine. It's going to be a complete change in mindset, though, for these drivers. From what we had last week, Daytona, where you're going 180 miles an hour, pedal to the metal, all the way around that racetrack. And now you've got to settle in, get to a max speed of about 150, get down below 100 miles an hour in the corners. It's a completely different skill set these drivers are going to be tapping into here tonight.
Yeah, Mitchell, we were at Atlanta last week, not Daytona, so let's get your first mistake right out of the way initially. But, right, back to short track racing here at Total Nonstop Racing. No big pack. We're not expecting that tonight, and you're going to have to use the brake pedal and be able to figure out where you have to run on this track to carry momentum. And speaking of which, Mitchell, I believe you were able to take some laps out on this track early, and as it is one of your personal favorites, maybe you could do a little bit of a ride-along here with one of our drivers and let everybody know.
I'm sure that sounds like quite a bit of fun. We'll hop on board with Alonso Chicano here in the number 25, third fastest in practice right now. We'll go on board with driver of the number 25, and you're going to see he's coming out of what is turn number 2 on this racetrack, headed down into turn number 3 at 4. So here he comes to start his lap right here, just trying to get the throttle up, and you see him using the high line, Garrett. That's something we're probably going to see later in a tire run. He cuts the dog leg, which you can do at Phoenix here, and then it's really hard onto the brakes. And when I took some practice laps, I saw you practicing too, Garrett. I really struggled to get this car slowed down into the corners on both ends of the racetrack. These cars not very friendly under braking here at Phoenix, and you see Alonso slide up the track a little bit through the center. That's kind of exactly what I struggled with. Really tight on entry, and I got really loose on exit. That's a tough mix for these drivers to handle.
Yeah, Mitchell, and for some of these guys, I'm back to last week's winner, Mike Tellier. We grew up with a different version of Phoenix than you probably grew up with. This is the Phoenix you know, has the open dog leg, a lot of room to pass. In our day, Mitchell, there was grass there. You couldn't make a pass. Well, I've seen Mike make a pass or two there over the years, but you really didn't want to go there. And for some of these guys, you have that in the back of your mind that it's old Phoenix. Well, it's not old Phoenix, and you have to get out there on the track and reprogram yourself almost to get used to this. I expect a difference between the hot laps we're seeing now, Mitchell, and the race pace that these guys have when we get our 150 laps going. But I'm curious to see like how relative these practice speeds, how relatable these practice speeds will be to the race order we're going to see in the qualifying order.
Yeah, you're exactly right about that. The fast times we're going to see in qualifying, nothing at all like the times you're probably going to see dropped into the race. That's because this track, you know it as well as I do, Garrett, really difficult on the tires. It really likes to eat away at that right front tire. As you see, J.D. Laird, a lot of drivers having trouble here in practice, I've noticed. Very hot temperatures in the desert of Phoenix, so that is definitely, you hit the nail on the head with that. And I grew up too, I'll give myself a little credit, with NASCAR inside line on the Wii. We had the closed dog leg there, so I'm not completely unfamiliar with that, but definitely haven't seen, well, iRacing gives the option, but we haven't seen that closed dog leg in a really long time. And recently NASCAR, you know as well I do, they changed turns 1 and 2 are now turns 3 and 4, and turns 3 and 4 became turns 1 and 2 because they moved the start-finish line to the exit of what used to be turn 2. You see it there, and it's been 5 years now since they did that, but still, it throws me off. So if we call it turns 1 or 2, if we say the wrong turns, I'm sorry, because that's just, it's tough to get used to, because Phoenix gone under a lot of changes here over the years. Practice, you see there, checkered flag flying, and it is Tristan Thuggy Maher, the fastest in practice Not a surprise to see him fast here. J.D. Laird second fastest and Alonso Chicano third fastest. All drivers you would expect to do well here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to predict before the race that J.D. Laird at the time was the fastest in practice. I was going to say keep an eye on Tristan Maher. He's a guy that has been getting better and better at these short tracks, and he's been a choke artist over the years, but he definitely has it in him to pull off an upset. Because I think, at least for me, Mitchell, anytime J.D. Laird doesn't win a TNR race, to me it's an upset. But there are guys in this field, Alonso, Tristan, and so on, that could put on a good show and pull off the upset here tonight.
Yeah, J.D. Laird certainly one of the fastest consistently in this TNR Grand National Series field. Another fast driver here is Bill Edwards. You see him out on track right now. A new look for the number 5. He got the right number painted on the car this week. Last week's race winner as well, Mike Tellier. He is out on the racetrack. Drivers getting ready to start their first laps in qualifying. Takes just about a minute to get around this track for qualifying as lap times start to trickle in. Matthew Rodriguez also out on the track. It was a great run for Matthew last week at Atlanta. Looking to carry that over, but I talked about it at the beginning of the broadcast too. As you see the 51 go for a little spin in turns 3 and 4. It's just a completely different racetrack this week compared to last week, and I know from experience it can take a little adjusting when you go from the track we were at, Atlanta, where you're really in the throttle the whole time and you don't have to worry about hitting the brake pedal very often, to here you're almost on the brakes and turning the car way more than you're on straightaways.
Yeah, 100% right there, Mitchell. And I'm just going to put my league administrator cap on here for a second. I don't actually have a cap that says league administrator. That'd be very just egotistical of me. But I always tell these guys, when you get to a track like Phoenix, braking points differ from driver to driver, from car to car, and especially after pit stops. You might just run somebody over when that happens. Be mindful of that. You'd hate to ruin your race or somebody else's race because you're not paying enough attention to where a guy's braking in front of you. And that's a benefit of a league like Total Nonstop Racing. That's kind of a close-knit community here. We've raced with each other all the time. We kind of know who drives in deep, who doesn't drive in deep. But every week you have to adjust to that and be mindful of that, especially coming off a track like Atlanta, like you just mentioned.
Lap time so far in qualifying. We've seen quite a few drivers struggle with getting out of the groove, getting loose. A couple hit the wall. So far, it is the 17 of Tristan Thuggy Maher, fastest in practice, fastest in qualifying for Tristan. Still 2 minutes remaining in the session and a lot of drivers out on the track still. Second fastest currently is Bill Edwards. Third fastest is the winner from last week's season opener, Mike Floppy Tellier. Watching right now, the number 23 tabletop trio machine of Bob Giaquinto out on the racetrack. And Bob's another driver. Had a really good run last week at Atlanta. Looking forward to seeing what he can get done here tonight at Phoenix.
Yeah, absolutely, Mitchell. Bob's one of those guys that I expect to get better and better as the season goes on. He's been in the booth for I don't know how many continuous seasons in a row. And just getting the track time and being able to be out there week after week, I'm not expecting a top 5 out of Bob tonight. But as the season goes on, by the end of the year, I bet you we're going to be calling that 23 car up near the front.
He was certainly exciting to watch last week, and we'll be keeping our eyes on him again here tonight as the track falls almost silent. Still a couple drivers out taking time. This is the 74 of Jake Bustos here, getting ready to start his first lap. First lap time puts him to 7th on the speed charts. That was a 27.647. The fast time set by Tristan Thuggy Maher, a 27.129, so just over half a second shy of the leader's lap time. He's got just enough time to slot lap number 2 in. We'll see if he can pick up lap time. He does. Jumps Lupe Gonzalez, going to 6th on the speed charts. Picked up 0.2 of a second there on that second lap. So not a bad qualifying run for Jake Bustos. Quite a few drivers, though, as well, electing not to qualify here tonight, Garrett. We had 9 take time in qualifying, and as the session ends, we are going to switch over and take a look at our starting grid for tonight's Phoenix 150, race number 2 of the season for the Total Nonstop Racing Grand National Series, sponsored by Schue Lawn Service. And out on the pole here tonight, it is Tristan Thuggy Maher. Starting to his outside on the front row is the number 5 of Bill Edwards. Starting in third, the number 47 machine of Mike Floppy Tellier, who won last week. Starting in fourth place, the number 99 of Philip Scott. Starting in the 5th position is Matthew Rodriguez in the 51. Then looking outside of your top 5, it's Jake Bustos in the 74 machine, rolling off in 6th place. 7th place, Lupe Gonzalez. 8th, Vincent Valvano. In 9th is Robert Tripp. And rounding out the top 10, the first driver not to take time in qualifying, JD Laird in the 46. I actually think JD went out, didn't get the lap times in because of some wall trouble. Then outside of your top 10, rounding out the field, David Durand in 11th, Alonso Chicano in 12th, Stephen Doziak Jr. starts in 13th, 14th is Bob Giaquinto, 15th, and rounding out the field is the number 3 of Jason Schue. 15 drivers set to start tonight's race here in Phoenix, Garrett. I'm looking forward to this one. It should be a good race. Saw the lap times in practice, very close. So it's just going to come down to who can manage the tires best here tonight and get the job done. 150 laps, that's a long race to manage.
It's a long race to manage, Mitchell, and you know what's on my mind right now? The dreaded P word. And no, not that P word, Doziak. Points. We're points racing, Mitchell. Last week, everybody's going for the win. It's Atlanta Superspeedway. Hey, I could win this race. I want to win this race. Now it's about points racing. Putting the laps together. Get ready to go green here, buddy. Bring us to the green.
Exactly right here. The mindset shifts as soon as that second race of the season hits. It never fails. Tristan Maher prepared to lead the field to the green flag in Phoenix. Getting ready to roll into that iRacing restart zone. Tristan Maher up front, Bill Edwards to his outside. Green flag waves, and we are racing at Phoenix. And
Let's
it was
watch them fan out here, Mitchell, on this dog leg. I didn't want to cut you off there. I thought you were giving me an opportunity, but they're fanning out already, bud.
Oh, you're exactly right. We're going to see that all race long. Drivers going low, using that open dog leg on the front straightaway. And a really good start to this race for Tristan Maher out front. Mike Tellier, he's showing a lot of speed early as well. Matthew Rodriguez jumps 2 positions from 5th to 3rd on the opening lap. And this field all bunched together as they go back down the back straightaway.
Yeah, these triangular type tracks suit Mike Tellier. I think a triangle is like a Canadian oval, maybe. I don't really know. It's something we'd have to ask Mike after the race. But he's putting pressure on that 17 of Tristan Maher. And if practice speeds of that 17 or also race speeds, Mike's holding his own.
We do have an early caution flag in the air 2 laps into the race. We are going to take a look on our World Racing Network replay and see if we can find the source of the trouble here. Looking around, because iRacing didn't pinpoint the caution like it usually does.
Do you think maybe we had some kind of rogue prairie dog or something run onto the track, Mitchell? Could it be maybe one of Doziak's fans wanting maybe their cleavage being signed or something?
I'm not exactly sure. We're going to take a look here. This is the closest I've got for you. This arguably should not be the caution. This is the 24 of David Durand, who is out on the racetrack still. Running. Gets a little bit high here in the corner. And then kind of parks it here on the exit of turn number 2. Gets it reset really quickly. Or is this... I don't know. That may not even be I'm not sure. That might have been qualifying we just looked at. Yeah, that was qualifying. Never mind. iRacing screwing with me here, Garrett. I don't know what it's doing, but that caution gonna go down as we don't exactly know where that one came from.
Yeah, I just got word from our spotter down on track that it was Robert Tripp. Let's take a look at Robert Tripp's vehicle, Mitchell, if we could get a replay queued up.
We are going to the 35 right now. Tristan out in our chat as well. Thank you for pointing us in the right direction. Yeah, this looks more like a caution. Number 35, Hardy's machine of Robert Tripp, just gets a little bit loose in that high groove there in 1 and 2. So easy to do. These drivers make it look really easy, Garrett. But just so easy to just jump that cushion a little bit, and around he goes in turn number 1.
Yeah, I ran those 2 practice laps like you alluded to earlier, and Robert and I actually spun at the exact same time in the exact same corner, and he's just been struggling with that feel all night long. And, hey, it's happened to all of us. We've all spun out, especially a track here like Phoenix. You didn't hurt anybody. You didn't ruin your race. Let's rack them up and get back to green flag racing.
Not much changed out at the front of this pack. Nobody came down to pit under this caution. So, going back to the restart, it is Tristan Thuggy Maher, your race leader. Then Mike Floppy Tellier in second. Matthew Rodriguez third. Philip Scott in fourth. And Bill Edwards rounds out the top 5 in 5th place. We're going to try it again here from Phoenix. And Tristan got a great restart last time, Garrett, on the initial start of the race. He's going to look to do that exact same thing right here.
Yeah, Mitchell, the best thing, I mean, you lead a lot of races. I hardly ever lead, but you want to see everybody in your mirror as quickly as possible. So it's about timing this restart right, and this restart zone gives a little bit of a bigger advantage to the leader as we're going back green here, and he's got him cleared, and let's see if he can hold the lead.
Jumps way down to the bottom of the dog leg, as does the 51 of Matthew Rodriguez, and Tristan Maher well clear for your race lead. Matthew Rodriguez again making moves on the restarts. Jumps Mike Floppy Tellier for the second position. A little bit of shuffling around in the back of the field as well as the field comes by the start-finish line to complete another lap here. Bill Edwards thought maybe J.D. Laird was going to take him 3 wide for a second, Garrett, but maybe a little bit too early to make that kind of a move as well. They're 3 wide right there is the 47 of Tellier heading down into the pits.
Yeah, an unscheduled stop here for the 47. Don't know what happened. He got some damage, or if he's just doing this to avoid coming back up on track into somebody. We'll have to see if he actually stops in his pit box there, Mitchell. But back to this battle for the lead. Matthew Rodriguez, what a showing so far here at Phoenix, putting the pressure on the 17. And I was able to talk to Matthew last week after the race, and he's such a fun person to talk to after the race, like breaking down how his race went and stuff. Like I encourage him to get as many top 3 finishes as he can this year, just so we can hear from him, because he puts on the show out there, and I'm not surprised seeing him battle for the lead this early on.
He's certainly putting on a show for us to the inside of the 17, down the back dog leg, and not quite able to clear him. I thought he was going to get him, Garrett, but down into turns number 1 and 2. That 17 pulls strong in the outside lane, and now that 51 has to look in his rearview mirror because there comes Bill Edwards on the outside.
Yeah, I'm watching that 5 of Bill Edwards, but I'm watching that 46 of J.D. Laird, just looking for real estate out there to make these passes. And like you said, he pulled back on that 3 wide pass before, but I could see him forcing the issue here because he wants to get to that front and see if he has anything for that 17 of Tristan Maher.
J.D. Laird started in the 10th position, 10 laps into this race, already up into 3rd place. The fall continues for the 51, now getting pressure from Jake Bustos on the outside. Bustos, Garrett, came so close to winning last week in Atlanta, led in the closing laps, then lost the lead and just couldn't get it back there in those final few laps. But this 74 machine, a great showing to start race number 2 at Phoenix. I know it's early, but you've got to be happy if you're Jake Bustos to come so close and have what looks to be a really fast car again the next week.
Yeah, Jake Bustos is the definition of the friend zone, Mitchell. He gets close, but he never has what it takes to be the guy. And week after week, we see him run up front, but we see him finish second. He's always second place. He's driving that amazing Cali-inspired second grade Mrs. Kishel's class paint scheme. I want to see him put it in victory lane. No more friend zone. Jake. Break out of the chains, bud, and get yourself some.
Philip Scott in the World Ninja League 99 machine trying to take the fight to Matthew Rodriguez. I wonder, Garrett, Matthew's dropping quite a few positions here. Do you think he's laying back more than everybody else and trying to save some tires here? Because we talked about how difficult Phoenix is on tires. It seems like he's dropping a lot of positions quick. We know he's a very fast race car driver, very fast here tonight at Phoenix. Do you think he's laying back a little here in the early going to try and save something for later on?
It's possible, Mitchell, but I think with the early stage break, lap 40, I think he just saw what he had, battled, maybe used up the tires a little more than he should. He's very aggressive out there, and I could just see maybe his tires are paying the price.
Philip Scott looking up the inside of the number 53, Lupe Gonzalez. This is the battle for the 6th place position. Right behind him, David Durand and Alonso Chicano side by side for 8th. We'll check back up front, though, because the battle for the race lead's starting to heat up a little bit. J.D. Laird got around Bill Edwards a couple laps ago, and now he has his sights set on Tristan Maher out in the race lead, and J.D. is right there through turns number 1 and 2 onto the back straightaway. These front two have created a little bit of separation from themselves to Bill Edwards. Back behind him, Bill about a half second off of this battle for the race lead as JD tries to throttle up and get to the high lane. Tristan, though, cutting the dog leg, gonna be able to slide back in front of the 46 into turns number 1 and 2. But JD Laird, very fast here tonight. These two, very fast in practice as well. JD held the fast lap for most of the practice session. Tristan slotted his time in to beat him late in the session. That 17 started off the pole. Right now, JD Laird looks to be putting all kinds of pressure up on Tristan Maher in the race lead.
Mitchell, I can't relate to, being passed by JD Laird for the lead, but every time JD laps me, or Tristan laps me, or everybody else in the field laps me, I always take that as an opportunity to learn. Where are these guys beating me? Where are they better? So when the 46 pulls off this pass, I look for that 17 to start getting his notebook out, start studying. Hey, JD's a little better here, a little better there. And little by little, you'll see that 17 start to improve. And he's doing a tremendous job holding them off. But when he passes them, it's not all for naught. He's going to learn a lot from that 46.
JD Laird really working the high line right now. Out of turn 2, he's going to keep his nose there. They were in the same position into 3 and 4 on the last lap. Laird could not make the pass this time, though. He seems to have the edge. New race leader, J.D. Laird in the number 46. And we'll see down into the corner. The dogleg pays off for Tristan Maher, able to stay side by side. But right now, J.D. Laird has that high line rolling. Going to carry the momentum out of turn number 2, and you see it there. Gets clear for the race lead. And now you're exactly right. We are 20 laps into this race almost. So if you're Tristan Maher, you do want to look, what is JD Laird doing? Because even his different line, that could help him save tires, which is, we're at that point of the run where you might see the tires start to play a little bit of a factor in how these cars drive. And right now, Tristan, he's keeping with him very well, but just a slight edge for JD Laird up front.
Yeah, slight edge to the 46, but the 17's not falling back. We saw the 51, Matthew Rodriguez fall back, but Tristan's keeping it right there. He's still trying everything he can. I don't think he's happy running in second place, and he wants to put a good show on here for us at WRN.
Yeah, Tristan Maher thought about looking back up the inside. Can't quite get it done. Bill Edwards is lurking in third place, still about a half second off of your front two. Taking a look out at the chat, Will Radcliffe says howdy, howdy Will. The Windsors say good luck Bill. Check in, not really much need to check in on Bill Edwards. We just talked about him running in third place right now, having a really fast S2R race car. Maurice says Chicano. We'll check in on Alonso Chicano. He is running in 6th place right now. Just got around Lupe Gonzalez for that position. He's got his set sight right now on the number 51 of Matthew Rodriguez. That would crack him into the top 5. So does Lupe Gonzalez, though. He shoots up the inside, try to make it 3 wide, not going to get there. Johnny Williams says, good luck all, and hello to the booth. Hello, Johnny. And Tristan Maher says, trip, which is very helpful in us finding caution number 1, as the 51 got really high out of the corner. There, almost scraped the wall, I think, out of turn number 2, but Alonso Chicano moves himself up inside the top 5. That's a race car that seems to be coming alive here. He's running lap times very close to your race leaders here.
And that's what you want to see. If you're going to have 15 cars in the field, you're not expecting many yellows. You want your car to be a good long-run car. And seeing the 25 of Alonso Chicano slowly and methodically make his way through the field, put down some good lap times, and once he cleared that 51 and 53 battle with Rodriguez and Lupe Gonzalez, he has set his sights on that 74 of Jake Bustos. He is trimming that deficit. So good call by you. Let's keep an eye on that Alonso Chicano vehicle as this race goes on.
The battle still continues as well between Matthew Rodriguez, Lupe Gonzalez, and now Philip Scott in that number 99 machine. Matthew Rodriguez, we saw him run up toward the front, kind of fell back. He's settled in here around the 5th place position, now back in 6th place, but he's can't seem, every time we look at him, Matthew Rodriguez is under pressure from somebody. And right now, Lupe Gonzalez is all over the back bumper. The 51 on hard into the wall for Matthew Rodriguez. That's going to cost him a spot, maybe 2, if Philip Scott can make this pass on the inside. But that 51, he just looks tight, Garrett. And you expect that from everybody at this point in the race. Those cars are going to start to tighten up. But the 51 of Matthew Rodriguez, he just slides up in the center of the corner there and really kind of struggling to get it turned back down on corner exit, more so than those cars around him.
Mitchell, sometimes I feel like you don't even need me here, color commentary. You just paint such a beautiful picture. It's like you've been listening to Peter Short for all these years and just have that natural ability to just be fantastic at your job. But what can I say? You nailed it. So we're going to watch. I'm keeping an eye on this 99 of Philip Scott out there right now. Mitchell, I expect him to be a little more towards the front than he is. I'm just wondering if he's struggling for the feel of this track, or maybe coming from the different generation of cars back to these cars, he's struggling with the transition.
Philip Scott, his lap times aren't that bad right now. He ran a faster time, or almost faster, than most of the cars in front of him, but started in 4th place, running in 7th right now. I think he just struggled to get the track position early on, and as this race has gone on, the field just kind of strings out as you see a wiggle from Matthew Rodriguez behind him. Almost got the wall again, but Philip's just in a position right now. He's got a fast race car, but he needs the track position to make it happen, and I think that's something you're going to see throughout the night, Garrett. Being behind the cars at short tracks, it really creates a lot of dirty air, we call it, where it's more difficult to turn that car. You have to crank the wheel more, and it just makes it more difficult to get around this track. And I think that's what's happened to Philip. He just got behind the 8 ball early on, and right now struggling to work his way up through the field, unlike Alonso Chicano, who we had talked about, just got around Jake Bustos to move Chicano up into 4th place. I have to say, I love what I'm seeing from that Celsius number 25 car. He is moving here on the long run. The lap times right now are just a couple tenths off your race leaders, but definitely the fastest of the cars outside of the top 3, because these top 3 here tonight, J.D. Laird, Tristan Maher, and Bill Edwards, they're laying down some really fast lap times right now, but Chicano is coming very close to being with them.
Yeah, we called that, and we're spot on. We'll see now with some clean air if he's able to start reeling those leaders in. I mean, we got only about 8 laps here till our stage caution, but going back to our top 3, Bill Edwards, quiet night, sneaking in there. He was doing some long run stuff in practice. I heard him say over the radio playing time, hey, go around me, I'm doing long run stuff. I think he was running like 60 lap run, which I think is right to the end of the fuel window, and just getting that notebook filled, and it's showing so far because he seems to have the feel for this place, and he's another guy. He's behind these 2 leaders. He's studying, and he's going to be there when it matters at the end of this race. But right now, just get to that stage break, get 4 tires on. I don't expect to see any different strategy from any of these drivers.
The positioning of the top 3 relative to each other has barely changed at all since the last time we looked at him, which is probably 10 or 15 laps ago. J.D. Laird out leading the race, Tristan Maher about 0.3 of a second behind him, keeping the pressure up, and then Bill Edwards just about a half second behind the second place car, and it hasn't moved ever since J.D. Laird got to the lead. These 3 seem really equal now. It looked like JD was going to get to the lead and then take off, but Tristan Thuggy Maher and Bill Edwards haven't let him do that. They're doing a great job staying with the 46, and maybe it's what you'd kind of talked about, Garrett, seeing what JD Laird is doing up front and mimicking that and finding some lap time.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, but if I'm JD Laird, and I know how good I am, not that JD's that type of guy that's like come into the server and brag about it, but if I'm JD Laird, I don't know if I want to show these guys my full bag of tricks in this first run, or even in the second stage of this race. I want to save something for the end. So I don't know if JD's necessarily showing everything he has right now. You want to save the best for last, I guess is the showbiz term. And I'm just curious if we get to the end of this race, if JD pulls away bigger, or if Tristan really has learned this much and these guys are right there with him. Which, for our broadcast perspective, I hope this is a photo finish, because coming off of last week, I want to see that every race here on WRN.
Yeah, right now things look to be about even up front, and that 17 starting to push that car a little bit harder. You saw him go up the track a little more in turns 3 and 4, got really close to that wall the last time around. He's searching around for something, because he wants those stage points. You talked about it here. This is the first race drivers really start to think, okay, how do I get myself more points? How do I put myself in that position later in the season to be in a spot to make the playoffs? And I think Tristan, he would love to get around JD Laird, but right now that 46 just so consistent up front that when Tristan started pushing, he lost 0.2 of a second to him. He's just that smooth up in the race lead with 2 laps to go in the stage. I really don't see these other guys getting around him here.
No, I think this is definitely JD's stage to lose. Mitchell, before we end the stage, can we get an update on Floppy? Did he come back on track? Just for our viewers.
It's the Mike Floppy Tellier update. He is on track right now. The 47 is out there racing and on the lead lap. So when this stage caution comes out, he should just join up with the rest of the field. Don't really know what brought the 47 down pit road on, I think, lap 5. But he is out there on the lead lap, so no harm, no foul for Mike Floppy Tellier here in the next lap or so. We'll get the stage caution, and he'll go right back to racing.
That's good to see, Mitchell. I was worried he had some sort of issue there, had to pull off track, and it's good to see him out there. And like it's like a do-over here when we finish the stage. These guys are coming the beginning of lap 41, so as the top 8 crosses the line, the yellow will be thrown, and these guys will be making their pit stops.
There was JD Laird, just as you said, crossing that start-finish line, and that is the stage caution. JD Laird picks up the stage win this week in Phoenix. Oh, there comes the pace truck sliding through the corner. That pace truck's going places. Tristan Thuggy Maher in second, Bill Edwards third, Alonso Chicano fourth, Philip Scott fifth, Lupe Gonzalez sixth, Jake Busto 7th, and David Durand in 8th. Those are the drivers scoring stage points under this first stage break, only stage break of the race. And right down pit road they all go. I think every single one of these drivers, Garrett, couldn't wait to put 4 fresh Goodyears on these cars.
Yeah, these crews are ready to attend to these cars, and everybody's going to be getting 4 tires here. And you want to check your tire wear. You want to know, ooh, geez, I was really on the right front that run. Maybe I could do something a little differently. Just, again, I'm going to keep repeating myself to the point where you're going to have to tell me to shut up, but that notebook, and it's not, like, for people thinking, oh, Gleason's talking about this notebook. It's not an actual notebook. It's just in your mind, like the friends I have. It's not real, but it's there when you need it, and these guys are all learning as this race goes on. Let's see. We got JD, Tristan, Bill. The order stays the same. Alonso in 4th. Looks like Philip coming off in 5th, and we'll see what happens. these cautions are pretty quick, especially with Jimbo driving that pace truck at 150 miles an hour around the raceway here.
Yep, Philip Scott with a really good pit stop there to get himself into third place. Let's see if we can pull somebody down here into the broadcast booth. We didn't do that last week in the middle of the race, but we'll see who's on guard. Looking at who we've got in voice chat. Let's get Philip Scott in the number 99 into the broadcast booth. If I can get him in the booth. There he is, Philip Scott. You're sitting at a pretty good spot right now. We were watching you there in the stage. Seemed like you had a really good long run pace in that car, just kind of short on a little track position. But what's your take on it from down there in the track?
Yeah, you judged it correctly. I just didn't have the track position that run, but still felt really good. But we're going to green really early right now, so let's see how this goes.
I see the pace truck going down. We will get you right back into the voice chat. That is a speedy yellow. Fast pace truck, I noticed. Anyways, good luck, Philip. Thanks for dropping by for 5 seconds.
10-4, thank you.
That caution flew by, Garrett. Usually a lot longer than that, but right back to green. Like you said, Jimbo driving that pace truck really fast around here, ready to get this race going green again, and they do. Green flag in the air. Looked like the 35 Robert Tripp ducked down there as they went, but looks to be okay on board the 35. JD Laird, though, with a fantastic restart, getting himself well clear of Tristan Maher, who gets a little bit loose mid-corner, and that opens the door for Bill Edwards up the inside lane. And look at Alonso Chicano, Garrett. He is right there in this battle for second place. Oh, there's contact behind him. Lupe Gonzalez spins. David Durand got into him. Matthew Rodriguez gets a piece of it, and the caution flag flies. Just that quick, things change.
Yeah, Mitchell, we don't need to go on YouTube and ask for help finding the replay on this one. You called this one live as it happened, but we'll take a closer look here on our World Racing Network replay. But looks like Lupe did not get that much damage, even though a couple guys ping-ponged into him. So we'll take a look here. Phoenix Racing here on a restart. We have Lupe going to go down into the corner. You see he got a very good entry there. And just looks like him and David Durand fighting for the same real estate there. And wow, that's a pretty good shot there from the 51 of Rodriguez. I expect to see both those drivers on pit road make some adjustments.
Yeah, we'll go on board with Matthew Rodriguez in the 51. Also try and get on board from David Durand. You're exactly right, though. That's just two drivers. Nobody really at fault there. You had the 24 just minding his business up the inside lane, and you had Lupe Gonzalez just trying to turn down and get a little bit of a straighter exit. As you see, yeah, Matthew just goes right into him, but nobody really at fault for that one. They just both wanted to be in the same line and didn't really know each other were going to be there, and you get that little incident. Hopefully those drivers, both of them, that was really heavy shot. I think Matthew Rodriguez probably comes out of this worse than anybody. On board now with the 24 of David Durand.
Yeah, let's watch Double D here going into the corner, and yeah, just that little bit of just. I think Lupe probably thought, yeah, he's not going to force it this early on the restart, and unfortunately, that type of thing happens. You think you have that bottom lane, and whether there's a little bit of neck code contact or if just two guys going for the same track. I'm not here to administrate it, but unfortunate to see, and I'm hopeful everybody gets their damage fixed and can get back out there.
Matthew Rodriguez just came off of pit road with an extended pit stop. So did Lupe Gonzalez. So both of them working to try and get that damage fixed. And for Lupe, he got hit on the side of the car, so that's not going to be as substantial as the 51, who had a really big hit right in the front end of that car. And Phoenix, not the most aero-sensitive racetrack we go to, but still, that damage is going to probably tighten up this race car. And at a race where really we've seen drivers struggling with getting tight over the long run, that's not what you want to see. And you look at the 51, try and get a better camera angle. That right front, that's lifted up quite a bit. So there's some heavy damage on that car for Matthew Rodriguez.
Yeah, a lot more damage to that 51, but you also called that you expected him to get the worst of it, and you're spot on as always, Mitchell. But Matthew Rodriguez, if that car has anything left in it, he will, whatever, I don't want to use an improper phrase, but he will get that car to do as much as it possibly can out there, and you'll be surprised at what I've seen him do with a wrecked race car. It seemed like he hit the wall every lap at one of the races last year, and he still just kept going and going and going at a lot of speed. So short track racing, aero, yeah, plays a factor. Dirty air plays a factor. We'll see what type of speed and type of lap times that 51 has, as it looks like we're racked up and get ready to go back green.
Yep, the pace truck pulls back off of the track. It's going to be J.D. Laird leading the field to green once again. Bill Edwards to his outside. Row number 2, Tristan Maher on the inside. Alonso Chicano on the outside. Row 3, David Durand involved in that caution. And the 47 of Mike Floppy Tellier to his outside. Did you see the field hit the iRacing restart zone? And we are green flag once again. And another good jump in the race lead for the 46 of J.D. Laird. This time, though, Tristan Maher nails the start as well. He gets around Bill Edwards and able to stay quite a bit closer to J.D. Laird. Still a gap there, but a lot closer than they were on the last restart. And Alonso Chicano making the moves, gets himself back up into the 3rd place. He is the biggest mover so far in today's race. Started in 12th place, now up to 3rd for Chicano.
Not often, Mitchell, do you see a guy with short run pace and long run pace. So on this restart, I was definitely keeping my eye on that 25 of Alonso Chicano and seeing if that car has the short run pace to at least keep these guys out his windshield. You don't want them a corner ahead of you, or a straightaway ahead of you into a different corner, if I knew what I was talking about. But somebody like him, and now Philip Scott with a little bit better track position. Does Philip come forward, or does Philip start sliding back? It looks like Philip slid back a little bit on that restart.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Keeping our eyes on Philip Scott. Expected him to be very quick. Definitely had the long run speed in the first stage. Took a little bit of a slide backwards, though, in terms of track position. I do believe he got around Dosiak for position, if I'm not mistaken. But a little bit of a gap up to Jake Bustos in front of him. And Bustos, another driver who had some good long run speed in the last run. We'll have to keep our eye on. Battle for the lead, though, starting to heat up between J.D. Laird and Tristan Thuggy Maher. Maher right onto his back bumper now, using more of that high line. I feel like that's what we saw J.D. Laird kind of start to do a little bit in that first stage, Garrett. When he got around Tristan, he was using that high line to do it, and I think Tristan tried to mimic that here. As I say that, he dives low down the backstretch, front stretch dog leg.
They're searching out there, Mitchell. They're searching. They're seeing what they learned in that first 40-lap sprint, and now they're using it. And like you said, looks like Tristan was maybe going to use JD's line there a little bit, but he's right back to bottom feeding, seeing if he could cut this track using that dog leg to his advantage.
The inside traditionally on iRacing is easier on tires. There are certain tracks where that's not the case, but usually on short tracks, I feel like the inside tends to favor more long run speed, and that's usually the case at Phoenix. I was going to say Iowa's a track, very multi-groove racetrack, but the inside usually tends to favor long-term speed, and it's kind of the same principle here at Phoenix, a little less dramatic. But usually holding that inside helps you save a little bit of right front tire. If you can use that yellow line to turn yourself, it helps quite a bit. Both your leaders, though, going up more toward the middle of the racetrack now, and they're not really worried about tire wear as much right now, Garrett. They're trying to fight each other for this race lead.
Yeah, 2 more sets of tires in the pits, Mitchell, so I expect these guys to break this race down. You're going to want another 40 to 50 lap run, put set tires on, so on and so forth. But like you said, I don't expect these guys to hold anything back. These guys are battling for this lead. There is a bonus for leading the most laps. Tristan led a bunch. Now JD's leading a bunch. So that's something to keep in mind too. If you could lead a lap, that's 2 points. You could lead the most laps, that's, I believe, 2 more points. So that all adds up. We were talking about points at the beginning of this race. Lead a lap. Get those stage points. If you get the pole, get those pole points. the end of the year, when it comes time to make the chase, every point is going to count, and that's what I expect these guys to do out there. Do some math. This battle for the top 3 is as exciting as ever.
Tristan Maher tried to go to the outside lane. JD Laird really got through turns 1 and 2 well. Tristan tried to cross him over, thought he was maybe going to throw a slide job, but just didn't get clear of the 46 and had to kind of check it up. And so JD Laird comfortably back out front, but these two have been battling, Garrett, and that has brought the 25 of Alonso Chicano right up to them. He's making it a 3-car battle now. If either one of these two slips up, Chicano is right there to capitalize on it. And there was a moment he was beside Tristan Maher for second. You see this line of cars running single file down the back straightaway. JD Laird doing a very good job out front. He's been very patient again, but you can tell this run there's a little more urgency. Both of these drivers want to get up into the race lead because the further we get into the run, Garrett, the more difficult it gets to make these passes because the tires get worse and you just can't do what you want to do with this race car.
Mitchell, it's such a frustrating feeling when you know or think you're faster than the guy. You get underneath, and just because of the tire wear, you struggle and you use up more tire, and you can't make the pass, even though you caught the guy. You know you were faster at one point, but then all that good is worn out of your tires, and you have nothing left when it comes time, and you just have to sigh, shrug your shoulders, and get back in line. And this battle we have here on WRN is much better than the battle for the national championship game, because Georgia is running away with the game so far, 24-7. So if you just tuned in, we promise a better show than what's going on right now on ESPN.
It's always, and we provide great coverage. Not that our friends at ESPN don't, but I love to spend my Monday nights here at Phoenix with you all. I find it very entertaining. And out in the chat, Will Radcliffe says a little courtesy bump, thinking that was probably about that last caution we had. Definitely quite a bump came from Matthew Rodriguez. David Duran got in there. Garrett Gleason, you're wanting to know where's the concession stand. Peter would feed me by now. We'll have to, you gotta tell me these things before we start. I'll arrange some food for next week for you, Garrett.
Where are we in? I think we're in California next week, right? It's probably some good places to eat out there. Maybe you could take me to a fancy restaurant before the race with all your WRN broadcasting money.
Yeah, maybe. Before they turn it into a short track. I don't know what they've still got open while that place is under renovation. I don't know when, I forget when that's going to officially be done, but very, very curious to see that track, especially when it comes to iRacing. It's probably a controversial decision, but because that track's been a part of the schedule for a long time, but just some changes up in the West Coast swing. We're going to add another short track to it. Meanwhile, at Phoenix, though, JD Laird starting to pull away from Tristan Thuggy Maher now. You were on board with Tristan there for just a moment, a couple laps ago. There's more of a battle right now between Alonso Chicano and Tristan Maher for the second position than there is for the race lead at this point. And look at Bill Edwards. You talked about him. Quiet night here so far, but working his way back to Alonso Chicano as I see a request for a through the field brought to you by my broadcast partner, Garrett Gleason. I'm not one to deny it. So here we go through the field at Phoenix. You've got JD Laird, who seems to be the dominant car through the middle portions of this race. He is leading laps. Your pole sitter, Tristan Thuggy Maher, in second place right now. The dominant car early on, but is seeming to lose a little bit of ground to JD right now. Then it's Alonso Chicano, who's had a very impressive run, the biggest mover of the night, up in third place. We'll keep an eye on him, especially as we get to a long run. Then it's Bill Edwards running in fourth place. Bill's having a solid top 5 night. Mike Floppy Tellier, the Tellier update, he is back inside the top 5 after getting shuffled back in the field from that early unscheduled stop. Got to look a little ways back to David Duran, that car performing fine after getting a little contact in that last caution. He runs in 6th. Philip Scott got himself up to the 7th position, but is kind of stalled out there in the World Ninja League 99. The 74 of Jake Bustos runs in 8th, another car we look for on the long runs. the 64 of Vincent Valvano, having a solid top 10 night, but getting a piece of the wall there. Good bit of wall there in turn number 1. Hopefully not too much damage for Vinny Valvano. That car looks pretty good other than on that right side from that. Then it is Steven Doziak rounding out your top 10. Doz having a solid night. In 10th, Lupe Gonzalez had a very fast car, but is struggling right now with damage from that last caution, as is the driver in 13th. But first, I meant to say, is Robert Tripp in 12th. He had a spin earlier in the race, but recovered and in the 12th position. Then it's Matthew Rodriguez, like we talked about. Rodriguez, a bunch of damage on the race car. Last car on the lead lap right now. Not too far away from getting lapped. Bob Giaquinto runs in 14th place in the tabletop trio machine. First car 1 lap down, so he would conveniently get the tabletop trio. Lucky dog, were we to get the caution now. And then Jason Schue rounds out your field 3 laps down in the 15th position. That was a lengthy through the field. I turn it over to Garrett Gleason for whatever he wants to say while I get a drink of water.
That was awesome, Mitchell. I like to throw that request out to my broadcast partners and just watch them stumble, but you handled that quickly like a pro. You didn't complain once, and you got everybody caught up. So if your favorite driver is out there, and if you ever have a request, hey, how's Vincent Valvano doing? Say it in the chat. We're here to please you guys. We're not just doing this to hear ourselves talk. You want to know how your friend, your loved one, your whatever, your favorite driver is doing, please say something, and we'll definitely highlight them. We're not here to just be selfish and show the top 3 or whatever, but if that's where the battle is on the racetrack, that's where we're going to focus our attention. But we're more than welcome to put requests out there as we're back here looking at the front of the field. Looks like Alonso Chicano has gotten that 25 up in the 2nd place. He's going to set his sights on that 46 machine of JD Laird, and looks like these guys are feeling it out there, Mitchell. We see drivers getting closer and closer to that wall. We saw the 64 make some contact. I believe we just saw some contact there somewhere near the end of the top 5. So struggle, tire wear. Maybe the track could be going through some changes, rubbering up a bit, and these guys are just fighting for it. As we have a new graphic. I don't think we saw this one last week, Mitchell. What's this showing us?
You didn't see this last week. I didn't whip this out. This is the WRN head-to-head. This is showing us Alonso Chicano's lap times relative to the drivers around him. So you see JD Laird, he was slightly slower that last lap, not even a 1/10 of a second. And then back behind him, Tristan Maher, he's a little bit faster right now. So if you're Chicano, you want to see JD Laird in the green and Tristan Maher in the green. That red up to JD Laird means he's losing time to Laird. And so this is our fun little lap time graphic. You can see how he's doing relative to those cars around him. And you see him, it said he was pulling time on Tristan Maher, but right now it doesn't look like it as Maher's closing in on the back bumper of Alonso Chicano. There goes Bill Edwards, though, with a slide through the inside lane. Almost didn't make it stick, but he somehow does, and he is up the inside of Tristan Maher. Well, I gave Bill a little too much credit. He's trying, though, up the inside lane, really wheeling that race car.
Yeah, Bill's a TNR DRP Stadium Super Trucks champion, and he looked like he was driving the stadium truck out there. He looked like he was going to use eight tires to make the corner if he had to.
Well, they've got a track here at Phoenix for those.
Yeah, and I'm sure Bill is raced down on the plenty, and he was going back to his roots there, that's for sure. But great battle, and not to discount last week's winner Mike Tellier out of this at all, because Mike, if you're Mike, and I've raced with Mike has bad luck, and Mike will admit that. A top 5 here at Phoenix after winning is going to feel like another win, because Mike usually gets shot in the foot, some type of fluke accident, gets taken on a lap 1 by a 10-car pileup. That's what usually happens. This nice, solid run for that 47, that's what I love to see, and that's going to keep Mike in contention all season long if he keeps doing this.
The Windsor's out in the chat saying go Bill, and Bill right now, he seems to be, these 4 are very close to even, but Bill seems to have a lot of speed in that car. He's just got to find the right run and make that move at the right time. I'll watch Alonso Chicano here through the corner, because last lap, not going to do it here. He got so close to the wall. Thought he was Kyle Larson out there for a minute. It looked like he was running right on that wall through the corner, and that is a line we haven't really seen much of it here tonight, but that maximum high line, cut it down, get the straightest possible exit, that is a line. It's a very dangerous line, a lot risky being right up by that wall, but he's going to have to run up high because the 17 of Maher to his inside. This the battle for second place. JD Laird, if you're wondering, is 2 seconds in front of this battle right now. So Laird is pulled out on this field right now, but we're going to keep the cameras here because these drivers putting on a show for us here, Garrett.
Yeah, you love to see this. Guys racing with respect, but also racing hard, racing for position. These positions mean something. I mean, not right now. This isn't the pay window, but it means something. Track position, for sure, is going to play a role in this, especially because, Mitchell, we had that 40-lap run at the beginning of the race. We're closing in on another 40-lap run, so within these next maybe 10 to 20 laps, we might start seeing some guys hit pit road. And Mitchell, with the tire wear being the way it is, 2 sets of tires in the pits, maybe short pitting for track position? Do you think that is a reasonable strategy?
I think it's a very reasonable strategy here. We'll take a look at the lap times we've got. Your best lap time so far in the race is a 27.701. That was run by your race leader, JD Laird. We'll see what he clocks this time by. This lap was a 28.689. So just over a second slower than he was at the fastest point in this run. So if you say short pit and gain a second a lap here, that's a very viable strategy. That means Alonso Chicano could be your race leader by just pitting 2 laps sooner than JD Laird does. It's not always that simple. In fact, we're going to try out a brand new graphic never before used on the World Racing Network. We'll see if it works like it's supposed to. That's the wrong one. This is the right one. It's a graph, and you can see how that bar there, that is the lap times being run. It moves up significantly throughout the run, and that is the tire run we're on right now. You can see how it's moved up quite a bit, almost one of those full bars. So that's fun. New graphics here, and I'm whipping out all my graphics here tonight. I might as well throw the track map out on the screen while we've got it.
Oh, I love the track map. You know the key to my heart is pasta dinners and track maps. I don't know for any of the ladies listening if they want to go out anytime soon. It's been 32 years. It's kind of a historic dry spell. But, well, what was I talking about, Mitchell? Oh, yeah, all the fancy stuff we have here at WRN. If we could just get me a telestrator so I could just circle things and talk about sponsors, and that would be great. Maybe for next season, if we keep doing this, you can get me a telestrator?
You know what? I'll see what I can do for you. I think there's a way I can get myself sort of a telestrator. I'd have to do a lot of work and trying to do some fun modifying to the streaming software, but maybe that's something we can whip out by the end, make things extra fun. Of course, that's all on my end. I'm sorry, Garrett, but...
Well, Mitchell, life's not all about you, all right? This is Total Nonstop Racing. I am the league owner. I get the telestrator. If not, there is no telestrator. So sorry, everyone. Mitchell ruined it for everyone. As we're keeping an eye on JD Laird here on track, and I'm expecting these pit stops any second now.
Yeah, we're keeping our eye waiting on drivers to make a pit stop. Excuse me. As we look at Alonso Chicano pulling away now from the 17 of Tristan Thuggy Maher in third place. I like the speed Alonso has. He it's in that middle portion of the run. He kind of fell back from JD Laird. Everyone really did. But that last time by, Alonso Chicano was faster than your race leader was. Not by much. It was by 9/1000ths of a second. But that is still faster, Garrett. So if JD Laird loses some of this time, say we get another caution and you bunch this field back up, I think Alonso had great short run pace, as did a lot of these other cars. I think they're just struggling in that middle portion of the run, really, and that's where JD is so good. He's good short run, he's been good in the middle run, and right now he's still running some of the best times on the track on the long run. Fastest car on the track is the number 99 of Philip Scott, and we've talked about how good Philip is, but he's just struggled to get that track position. It just gets buried so far back that unable to really do anything with it still.
Yeah, it's a frustrating night for the 99, and Philip showed a lot of maturity last week. We talked about him backing out of a situation that was potentially hazardous to his championship hopes. And you get here, and Philip wants to just take the chains off and just go get him. And to see him struggle this much is pretty surprising for me. And I just wanted to go back to something we were talking about pitting. You're Alonso Chicano with short pitting. You know you have the long run pace. Maybe you don't short pit this time necessarily. Keep an eye on the 46, be competitive with that. Maybe towards the end of the race, that's your roll of the dice. I know we're not in Vegas, but that might be the chance you have. Hey, maybe I can hold them off if I get out front and everything levels off, and I've shown this pace on the long run. By the time the long run comes, maybe I'll have something for him.
Yeah, I think Alonso's in a very tough position because he's got the short run pace to match and he has the long run pace to match, but it's just in that middle section of the run that he's struggling. And if he waits to pit, you're gonna be more into the middle part of the run by the time you finish the race. But if you short pit, you're gonna get through that and you're going to have your long run pace to look back on, but by that point, you've lost all the time. So he's in a really difficult position right now. I don't really know what the move is for the 25. I'm usually the first one to say two tires, but that really doesn't work here at Phoenix. It's Bill Edwards. A massive wiggle out of turn number 2, but still gets side by side with Tristan Maher. Out of turn 4, Tristan still fighting on the outside lane. What a run Tristan had there out of the corner, but Bill's been very fast, and here he is trying to crack himself up inside the top 3. Great night for Bill Edwards.
Yeah, Bill's putting together a heck of a run. All those practice laps, long run pace really showing off here. And I'm a little bit surprised. It's great, again, from our perspective, seeing these guys run side by side, but usually at this stage of the run, tires don't have anything left in them. You see some guys just give and take. Hey, you know what, bud? You're a little bit faster right now. You have it, but you see the crossover move from that 17 of Tristan. He wants to keep his track position as they get ready for pit stops.
Yeah, waiting on the first of your leaders to make the jump down pit road. Jason Schue is the first one to test pit road, as is Matthew Rodriguez. They have both been down in the last 2 laps. Neither of them were on the lead lap, though, at the time of making those pit stops. Matthew Rodriguez, I don't believe that 51 is on the track anymore, actually. He did pit, but he pulled it into the garage. And so that 51, I believe, done for the night. And that's hard to see because he had such a fast car early on, but not really surprising, Garrett, after that hard impact to the front end of that car. He just didn't have the speed here tonight after that.
Yeah, you called it. The speed, the damage was just too much, and I've seen, like I said earlier, I've seen Matt Rod work miracles out there with damaged race cars from time to time. Even at like super speedway races where he has no business leading the pack, he somehow gets up there. So if he pulled it off the track, it was bad. And I'm sure at some point we'll catch up with him and hear how bad it actually was. But we have a leader coming to pit road, and it's Tristan Thuggy Maher. And we'll hopefully hope for a smooth pit stop here. Don't miss your marks and get in that box clean.
Yep, Tristan Maher gonna be the first of your race leaders to venture down pit road. We'll see if anyone follows suit. Lupe Gonzalez into pit road, but the rest of your leaders remain on the racetrack for the time being. I'll be curious to see how long they stay out. JD Laird's in a position, I don't think he's as worried about Tristan. He's just watching Alonso Chicano in second. He's 4 seconds ahead, so really, Garrett, JD Laird could let Alonso short pit him by even 2 or 3 laps, and then he pits out and still comes the race leader if the pit crew does their job. And we're going to see if he plays it that way, because down pit road comes the 25 of Alonso Chicano and the 47 of Mike Floppy Tellier. David Duran down pit road as well in the 24. So green flag pit stops definitely underway now for your race leaders. I think this is a big moment here if JD Laird comes down or not.
Yeah, I think think you made a good point there. I think JD is smart enough to know he has a cushion here. Fresh tires are going to mean something. I believe they can make it to the end on fuel from here, so I think JD is going to go as long as he can and still maintain his lead, but pit and make sure he has the freshest tires for this last run.
By that logic I kind of laid out, I would expect him next time around, although he looks to be slowing it down here, to come to pit road this time, which probably the safe call, not as aggressive. He locked up the left front tire there, getting down pit road. Vinny Valvano there just in front of him, also down pit road. But JD, I think that's the safe call, was let him pit and then come down, but he had some options there, and that's just the good thing about being as fast as JD has been tonight, is that left him the options. New race leader, though, courtesy of everyone in front of him pitting. Bill Edwards in the 5, as he is now down pit road as well, but got the lap-led bonus point, which Philip Scott is now going to take from.
Wow, Bill got everything he could coming to pit road. He's being wild out there, Mitchell.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that from him tonight, too, when he was battling with Tristan. Very aggressive, and he knows how important the pit stops are. You can lose seconds on the track just by getting into the pits slightly slower than that guy next to you. So much time is gained or lost on pit road. Philip Scott and Jake Bustos, the only two cars. I take that back. Robert Tripp hasn't pitted either, nor has Bob Giaquinto, but they are lapped at this point in the race, as you see Bob getting put a lap down again by Philip Scott, who continues to stay out, as does Jake Bustos. And I mean, this is, Garrett, if a caution were to come out here, which is what they're banking on, it would completely change the way this race looks.
Yeah, it would throw a wrench into so many of these guys' plans, and they would be frustrated. But the wave around kind of takes a little bit of that strategy out, but still it would be a big advantage to these guys who stayed out and get these guys lapped down and the line and whatnot. But if you're Jake, Phillip, whoever, Robert Tripp, why not? You're probably not going to get a top 3 the way it looks as things stand. You don't have the speed to pass these guys on the track. Try a different strategy. I do it all the time. I know I can't beat you straight up, so and you can't really cheat, Mitchell. It's kind of like you kick a guy in the shin and win a fight or something, but there's ways in iRacing to even the field, and you mentioned 2 tires, can't do that here, so hey, try a different pit strategy. Maybe you catch a caution. Hasn't been any cautions. Some people would say we're due for a caution. I don't know about that. Broadcaster's jinx? Maybe. We'll watch the 17th Tristan Meyer, and maybe he'll cause the yellow.
Well, you've got different pit strategies. Tristan Maher short pitted JD Laird, and he made it work. He came out in front of that 46. He is not your race leader right now because Jake Bustos has yet to come down pit road. You saw Philip Scott pit. JD up the inside. I think he's going to clear him here. I was going to say, if you're Tristan Maher, you cannot let JD Laird get around you here. He really needed to keep that 46 behind him. And if he can stay close and make the move, maybe. But I think JD Laird out home free really at the front of this pack. Slightly newer tires than Tristan. Unless we get a caution, this 46, he looks tough to beat as Jake Bustos comes down from the pit road. The last car who had yet to make their pit stop.
Yeah, JD comes here to TNR to have some fun and win races. And it's always a surprise if he doesn't win a race, which, hey, luck happens and whatnot, but JD's just so smooth, so talented, and he's not going to beat himself, and sometimes that's the difference. Guys that don't lead or win as much, put themselves in contention like JD does, championship caliber driver, they might, and there's a yellow out, so I can't even finish that point, but let's see what happened.
Yep, caution flag is in the air, and that is going to change the entire complexion of this race, and we're looking around to see who brought out the yellow. This is another one where they didn't jump right to it, but you know what? We're gonna find it. I'm capable. There's an incident.
You want me to tell you?
Yeah, go ahead.
64.
64. Not who I had just found. Doze did slam the wall right before that yellow flag came out. Let's go around here. This is one thing that will get better through the season. Typically, I get better at finding cautions. Still looking for it. We went way too far back. We'll get there.
Would you like me to do some play-by-play in the national
Yeah,
championship
go ahead.
game? Well, it's
Yeah,
38-7
go ahead.
Georgia. Georgia's a scored 21 seconds left here in the opening half. TCU's got the ball. I think they're at this point better off maybe just calling it as we get back to action on the track here. We're going to watch the 64 of Vincent Valvano on some fresh tires. Maybe got feeling a little too good out there on the fresh tires, and that's not a horrible yellow. But look up behind him, Bob doing the brother thing and like, hey Vinny, you're gonna spin out, let me spin out too, so you don't get the whole blame.
That's so easy to do when you've been on tires for 65 laps and you get on cold tires. It's so easy to spin those tires around. I remember I did that once from the race lead, and it was terrible. I hate doing that, but it's so easy. Anybody can do it. And it's just on board with the number 64, Vincent Valvano. Throttles it up like he normally would, but the tires are cold. They can't grip the track like they normally would. And he goes around. Bob Giaquinto doing the exact same thing behind him. And a little party down there by the backstretch wall.
Yeah, it's if one person spins, it's not a party, but I guess the second person doing the exact same thing does make it a party. So, two good drivers, good people. Vinny and Bob, hopefully not too much damage. Looks like Bob's having a rough night out there. Not what we expect to see from the tabletop trio Chevrolet.
Yeah, he had a great run last week in Atlanta. It looked like he had some speed here coming into tonight. Just it's overshot the pit stall just a little bit there. It hasn't been the night Bob wanted. You see some right side damage there. We've got John Cannizzaro out in the chat with the eyeballs. Haven't seen John in a while. John, you got to come out here and race if Garrett will let you. I don't know where you two are at right now.
Yeah, I'm as far away from John Cannizzaro as possible, Mitchell. I really had enough of him. He was winning races and just getting better, and that just made me sick. So, no, John's a friend of the channel, friend of the league, and I hope he could get back out here soon and just cause some chaos, because there's one thing we like broadcasting races, it's Cannizzaro's in the field, because you know there's going to be some action and there's going to be some stupidity, and that's what the people pay to see.
JD Laird, still your race leader here. We've got a mixed bag on strategy, Garrett, so things are going to get really interesting. Out in the front of the field, you have JD Laird, who did not pit under this caution. Mike Tellier's in second place, did not pit under this caution. Philip Scott, he worked the pit strategy pretty well. He is in third, did not pit under this caution. Jake Bustos did not pit. Jake Bustos was down pit road when the caution came out, so definitely didn't pit. But behind them, everybody came down pit road. You got Bill Edwards on fresh tires, Tristan Maher on fresh tires, Alonso Chicano on fresh tires. That's going to make things really interesting. You talk about needing to do something different than JD Laird to try and get around him because he's just been that fast. I think that's a really good opportunity. Do what he doesn't do. I like having the fresh tires here on this restart.
Yeah, why not, Mitchell? Like, that's a perfect call. Just do what he doesn't do. He stays out, you pit. He pits, you stay out. That's the name of the game, and that's how you even up your odds a little bit. So, gonna see. Different challenger on his outside here. 47 Floppy. Let's see if Floppy can hold pace and then use it to his advantage as we get ready to go back green here.
Yeah, the field working their way through the iRacing restart zone. Green flag in the air. JD Laird getting out into the race lead. Philip Scott with the move to get to second place down into turn number 1 and 2. Mike Tellier right on his bumper. Like you said, we haven't seen too much of Tellier up in the battle for the race lead after that early unscheduled stop. Into 3 and 4, though, it's JD Laird comfortably up in the race lead. Philip Scott also clear in second. The battle is behind him, though, for third place. Mike Tellier. Bill Edwards gives him a shot down the dogleg. Jake Bustos is up in the outside lane. Bustos really drives it in the outside lane, and look who's up there as well. The 25 of Alonso Chicano's almost a coming together between the 74 and 47 down the back straightaway.
Yeah, it looks like the 17 made some contact. Whoa, we have a wreck. We have a wreck, Mitchell. Looks like 17.
Yes, we do. And yes, it is Tristan Maher. Had a great night. all race long and got back in the field there on the tire strategy, and he goes around in turn number 3. We'll look back. I think he had a little bit of help in doing it. Take a look on our World Racing Network replay. See, he gets into the wall. Chicano gets into the wall, but headed down into turn number 3. David Durand. We'll have to look at that one because there was definitely contact between the 24 and 17 into turn number 3. We had to get a better angle on that one to see if that was them going for the same real estate or if Durand got in there a little bit hot. We'll go to the World Racing Network helicopter for this one.
Oh man, Mitchell, that was just a weird looking accident. So is our great helicopter pilot here shows us this vantage point. Dougie lost some of his momentum on the straightaway here, going into the corner. And wow, Mitchell, that almost looked like the 17 was stopped. The 24 got in so hot there. I don't know if it was just a matter of Tristan not wanting to miss the corner and go up into the wall, or David Durand just having a tremendous run. I actually need to see that again because that happened so fast in front of me.
We're going to show it to you again, and we are going to show it to you from the onboard of the 24 of David Durand because I'm in the same boat as you. I don't know if Dougie got in there slow or if Durand got in there fast. I think Durand, it looks from there like he got into that corner hot and wasn't going to make it, and Tristan Maher was just kind of there from that vantage point.
I'm getting that vibe that if the 17 wasn't there, I don't know if the 24 would have made the corner, but David Durand's a heck of a driver. I mean, it's certainly possible that he's good enough under braking there, but he was going for it. At the very least, I think we could say that the 24 was going for it there a little more than the 17 either expected or was willing to go at this point in the race. So hopefully this doesn't hurt Tristan too bad. Looks like he made some repairs, got some rear end damage, but just stay in the lead lap and try to get the best finish you can if you're the 17. That's a shame though because he was in contention for a top 2 or 3.
Yeah, Tristan Maher, a top 3 car all night long, was the dominant car early on in the race. I'm worried for Tristan because we saw how bad Matthew Rodriguez's car got after the damage, and Tristan's car looks a lot worse than Matthew did after that first big caution.
Yeah, Mitchell, now that we look at it here even closer, it's going to be not that long of a run here till the end of the race, but Tristan might have his hands full, that's for sure. And that's an absolute shame, but it's hard to know without speaking to one of the guys involved in the accident what exactly happened. And it just breaks my heart from a broadcaster standpoint because I know these guys look forward to these races every week, and for the most part, this has been a spotless race as far as accidents go. A couple self-spins here and there, the one incident with Lupe and Rodriguez there, but like that's tough. That's tough to watch, and if you're a Tristan Dougie Maher fan, I certainly feel for you.
The good news for him is he is still on the lead lap. He did not lose a lap in that situation, but he's going to have to fight with a very tough car. Speaking of losing laps, missed it earlier tonight, but the Tabletop Trio Lucky Dog Award, that is going to go to the one and only Stephen Doziak Jr. Thank you to Tabletop Trio for sponsoring the Lucky Dog Award this season. Make sure to tune in on Wednesday nights, I do believe, on Twitch. Check out the Tabletop Trio podcast. Good stuff from our sponsor. Glad to have them on board. Bob Giaquinto in the Tabletop Trio car, sitting 13th right now, 2 laps down. But it is time to restart this race once again. Green flag in the air. Philip Scott does not get going up top at all. JD Laird doesn't. Jake Bustos gets going right behind him. Bustos trying to find his way really to either side of JD Laird. I don't think he cares. Contact got the bumper to him, looked low, looked high, and auto turn number 2, the bumper right on the 46 of JD Laird. Is Bustos going to look up the inside?
I give Jay credit. He's given that Cali designed ride there a heck of a run. He came from pretty much out of nowhere. I was watching that 99 of Philip Scott on this restart, thinking Philip was going to be really aggressive, and turns out Jake in that 74 machine just laying it all out there. What do you have to lose? You got the announcer up here talking about how I finish second every week and this and that. I'm going for it. JD Laird's the best of the best. I'm going to show him I have something for him, but looks like he he had that initial burst, but he's fallen back a little bit as we see the 99 of Philip Scott making what I think is an unscheduled pit stop.
I don't know why he would be coming down pit road as a scheduled stop right now. So it's very odd to see Philip. He finally had the top 5 track position. Didn't have a good restart there. Now he down pit road. Kind of what we saw from Mike Tellier, just kind of pit out of nowhere. Tellier up in 6th place, so he's not doing too bad, but Philip not as much time to make it up here. And he's back out on the track. Maybe some kind of drive-through penalty? I'm not sure. We'll have to get word later on that one. Meanwhile, back out on the racetrack, JD Laird settles in now into the race lead. Jake Bustos in 2nd. Alonso Chicano, one of the first of those drivers who took tires on not the last caution, the second to last caution. He is trying to get underneath Bustos for the 2nd place position. And Chicano's got 8 lap fresher tires than JD Laird. I do think that might be some kind of the advantage he needs, but he's got a heat cycle on those tires, Garrett, and that usually when you pit, get fresh tires, and then you get another caution, it kind of equalizes out those tires compared to the rest of the field. And I'm worried for Alonso there that these fresh Goodyears not going to be as good as I think he's hoping them to be here.
Yeah, Mitchell, it was worth the risk, though, at the time, and it might not be exactly what he needs to pull this off, but it was worth the risk. He got an unfortunate caution, but he's showing he's not going away quietly. We'll have to bring up maybe one of our fancy graphics here to see how our lap times as this run goes on. Maybe he's closing in, maybe he's losing a little bit of distance, but I've been impressed with Alonso from the start of this race to right now here with less than 30 laps to go. It's a heck of a run, and I'm always happy to see Alonso here at Total Nonstop Racing. He's a heck of a driver, and he always puts on a good show, and that's what we're looking for. Nice, clean racers. So if you know anyone in that type of mold, please send them our way.
And what you want to see from Alonso on that graphic, well, it was there for a minute, went a little bit red to now Bill Edwards, who got around Jake Bustos for the 3rd place position, but that green up on the top to JD Laird means he is closing in on your race leader. Just about half a tenth that last lap. Not super quick, but he is making gains, and if he can keep that up, he will start to close in on your race leader. We talked about, though, Bill Edwards in the number 5 S2R machine, and I do love the paint scheme, Bill. New look for Bill, and he's doing it really well here tonight. Run inside the top 5 really all day, I think, and right now, late in the race, cracking himself inside the top 3. A great consistent run from Bill, and he was the fastest car on the racetrack last time by and cooked off the fastest lap in the race on this run. So Bill, he's peaking at the right time. That number 5 car, very fast right now.
Yeah, a couple seasons ago in TNR, we had a guy, Tim Johnston, used to call him Mr. Consistency. Just every week, just was right up there, top 3, and you just never had to worry about him. He was always there. And Bill is certainly taking that mantle over. Bill is becoming a lot more consistent. You see him up near the front week after week, and the saying goes, Mitchell, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, if you get the dog to stop licking himself, Mitchell, you never know what that dog is capable of, and Bill Edwards is that unruly dog, and he's figuring it out here. Better late than never.
Yeah, Bill Edwards, very good run here tonight. He's gotten better as the race gone on. I think more so than anybody else, he seems to have really improved, and he was good to start the race, but as the track has changed through the race, he's gotten better. JD, I believe, got a bit of the wall there out of turn 2, and Alonso Chicano now right up on that 46, but he slid up just a little bit. That opened the door for Bill. If he can get the run, I don't think he has the run. Still single file into turn number 1, but this battle for the lead has got a lot more interesting as Bill Edwards looks up the inside of Alonso Chicano. Just too much speed in that outside lane, though. Alonso, we've seen him be one of the drivers to use the outside lane all night long, and he's tried to get it going right here. What I do worry about him, this is just maybe overanalyzing a little bit. It's a lot of kind of information, but he's just getting a little bit higher on the exit of the corner compared to JD Laird. in turns 3 and 4. It's really hard to judge that here in 1 and 2 where they're running completely different lines. But you're going to see here if he doesn't have Bill Edwards to his inside, which I think he's going to, you're going to see he drives in really hard. It actually didn't happen that time because he made contact with the 46. But what he's been doing is driving it really hard and letting the car get up out of the corner more. He gets closer to the wall on exit. But that's burning up more of that right front tire. With 21 laps to go, you've still got to pay attention to your tire wear, and I think Alonso might just be pushing slightly too hard right now. From my vantage point, I could be completely wrong. I haven't been behind the wheel of one of these great National Series cars in a really long time. But just from my vantage point, he's definitely pushing hard. I'm worried he's burning the stuff up, and same with Bill, too. He's being really aggressive trying to get around him.
Yeah, these guys are out there hunting for that fresh air, and I'm glad you brought up that he made contact there, because from my vantage point, I definitely thought that was what happened, and I'm glad you confirmed it. But if you're Alonso Chicano right now, or I guess now you're Bill Edwards, you're saying, come on, man, let me go after him. Let me have a crack at him. Give me a break here. Then we'll fight it out. But let's not run side by side and slow each other down and make this worse. J.D. Laird's tough enough to beat straight up. I don't need you hindering me. So right now, Alonso's backing off. Let Bill go have a crack at him. Bill drives it in real deep there, Mitchell. And Alonso's right there to strike if something happens.
And that's the one thing we've seen from Bill a couple times tonight. He drives it in deep, and there have been a few instances. I didn't think he was going to make it stick. Drives it in really hard up the inside. Your leader's wreck in turn number 3, Bill Edwards. Hard into the wall. J.D. Laird hard into the wall. Wow, Garrett. Caution flag flies. I don't know what to say about that one.
Well, they're not going to be going out for dinner after the race, Mitchell. I think that's safe to say. But I mean, these guys are going for it. You want to win this race, and I think Bill knew the good was wearing off the tires. This was his opportunity, and he drove it in there for everything it had. But that's why we have replay here on World Racing Network. So let's take another look at this number 5 of Bill Edwards diving it in. JD was going to make it a tough pass, pinch him down a little bit, and I don't think there was enough real estate there, Mitchell.
Yeah, JD on his way down the track, and Bill definitely got into that corner really hot. We're going to dial back up the World Racing Network chopper, and we're actually going to put this one in slow motion here and get a look at it here. See, the 46, he's turning down. The 5 is turning down. From this angle, I actually think it was the 46 who turned down into the 5 of Bill Edwards. I don't think that was Bill getting in hot. He definitely got in there really hot, but from that angle, I think JD kind of turned down into him. That's from my perspective. I don't know what you saw from that, Garrett.
Yeah, different line. I think, obviously, JD 10 times the driver I am. Did JD just want to make this a tougher pass and didn't realize maybe there's a little bit of a speed difference there? And in his mind, hey, I'm going to pinch him down, turned into, oh, crap, there's not enough time to pinch him down. And that's what happened. It's tough to say, Mitchell. And I've raced with these two guys long enough. They're both great guys. I don't see anything malicious happening. Like, there's no grudge there where Bill or JD thinks, yeah, I'm going to wreck this guy because I don't want him to win the race. That's not the case, but Bill has a run. Bill's going for it here. And look at JD's car. It's already turned down a little bit. Bill's sliding it into the corner. I don't know, just one of those, you're racing. I think you could accept this type of accident this late in the race. We'll have to review it afterwards like we do here, but it's just, I hate seeing it happen, but I kind of get it at this stage, I guess, is the way to put it, Mitchell.
And if you looked at it, too, there was room. I know it was early in the corner, but there was more room down to the inside where Bill Edwards could have gone. And maybe JD anticipated him really diving it all the way down to that yellow line. It's just tough to say because, again, that's one of those racing deals. You have two guys trying to run different lines, but similar enough that they wanted the same spot in the corner in the middle. And I think that was just Bill was driving it in hot, didn't quite want to get down to the yellow line, was going to try and get down later in the corner, and JD kind of anticipated Bill being there and just came together just a little bit, but it's at such a high speed at the entrance of the corner that you get a really dramatic crash. But JD in, I believe, 11th place. Tristan Maher, I think, got your, he being the last car on the lead lap right now, the Tabletop Trio Lucky Dog Award. Your race leader, though, Garrett, is Alonso Chicano, who has had such a great night. He is in a position to take advantage of the situation. Bill is in 3rd place, but you look at Bill Edwards there in 3rd place. He is missing the entire front end of that car. I don't know how well that 5 is going to be able to stay up in contention, but Alonso Chicano, he is in a great spot here. David Durand, he's had an up and down night, been involved in a couple wrecks, doesn't get the tires going there. But green flag is in the air, and Chicano with an incredible restart out of the race lead. Look at Bill Edwards sliding back through the field. Kind of what I thought. Just not enough speed in that 5 after such a heavy incident.
You don't blame Bill for trying to keep it up there track position-wise, and we have a wreck. I looked at a doze there in the outside wall. I was going to make a couple comments on our field, but we're going to have to do it again, Mitchell, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's see what happened to the 55 of Steven Doziak, who texted me before this restart that he was banking on the top 5. He felt pretty good about that number 55 machine. And we have the 24, David Durant, up in the wall, and Doz just got a little too happy in the corner there, Mitchell, and somebody that lacks talent like Steven Doziak, that tends to happen.
It's the same thing. I forget who did it earlier in the race, but we saw the same thing happen. Running the outside in turns 1 and 2, just got a little bit free in the rear end, goes around, and unfortunately for Lupe Gonzalez, this one happened in the middle of the pack, and Lupe, you'll see here, gets a piece of him right there. Other than that, though, great job by everyone avoiding Steven Doziak spinning there. That's just not the first time we've seen that incident tonight, and not the last time this season we're going to see someone just try and run a little bit too hard through the corner and lose traction in the rear tires. Here's the interesting situation, though, Garrett. Alonso Chicano, your race leader, has stayed out. He's had 32 laps on his tires. We have currently 12 laps to go. We'll probably restart somewhere 8 to 9 laps to go. Jake Busto stays out. Philip Scott stays out. Lupe Gonzalez, Tellier, and Valvano stay out. The rest of the field, though, being Bill Edwards, Tristan Thuggy Maher, David Duran, J.D. Laird, and Steven Doziak, the rest of the lead lap cars, I should say, have come down pit road. So you've got Chicano on about 25 lap older tires than these drivers behind him. And then from, I believe, 7th place on back, being on completely fresh tires. So not only now do we have 2 different tire strategies, we have 3 different strategies at play, but you can hang on old tires. It's not going to be the longest of restarts, but that 25 lap older tires, that's concerning, certainly if you're on top of the pit box for Chicano.
Concerning, Mitchell, for sure. Tire spin, always a possibility on older tires, but Alonso had a really good restart that last time. Couple things I want to talk about here. And, hey, it's my moment. I'm going to circle the 17. Tristan had speed to win this race. Fresh tires. I'm going to circle David Durant. Had speed. Maybe, some instance there. But he's shown speed. Back to the front of the field. Alonso Chicano, Jake Bustos. Jake Bustos runs pretty much full-time here at TNR when he can, when he doesn't have military commitments. He wants to win this race in the worst way. 2nd place. He doesn't want to hear it. Finishing 2nd again. Alonso Chicano, part-time. Must have some affinity for Phoenix, wanted to come race this week. Alonso runs part-time here at Total Nonstop Racing. Does Jake want it more? Philip Scott, always hungry for a win. Lupe Gonzalez, a guy that runs, is a solid driver, but doesn't have a Total Nonstop Racing win. Who wants it more? Who needs it more? Will these guys get aggressive with each other? I certainly expect it.
I think this is going to be by far the most aggressive restart we've seen here tonight. And you hit the nail right on the head at a lot of points. We've seen Philip with a lot of speed here tonight. Got up front, near the front for one restart, but just kind of fell back. Here he is again with a chance to go grab the race lead. And we've talked about drivers doing incredible things with beat-up race cars. Lupe Gonzalez has been in every other caution tonight. Not that many, but he's been in several incidents here tonight. That 53 is beat up, but here he is in 4th place, restarting with 8 laps to go, and he's got a chance to win this race. But it's Alonso Chicano out front. 25 lap older tires. Can he make it stick? He nailed the last restart. Headed into the iRacing restart zone. We are going to see, it is a 9-lap shootout to the finish of this race. You are going to see all of it here on the World Racing Network. Green flag flies. And a good start for Chicano, but a good start for Philip Scott right behind him. Clears Jake Bustos into turn number 1 and 2. Look at Tellier way down on the inside lane trying to make it stick. We don't see that line much on iRacing. It's really loose out of the corner. David Duran, big dive, making it 3 wide. JD Laird shooting it up. Wow, there's cars going everywhere on this restart.
They are all over the place. They will use every inch of this racetrack. Dog leg, stands, who knows, Mitchell. But Philip Scott looking for the lead, and it looks like it's going to stick. Wow, that 99, what a restart.
Philip Scott, all race long, we talked to him earlier. He has been fast, but just could not make anything happen. But with just 7 laps to go in this race, Philip Scott, your new race leader in Phoenix. Can he bring it home? He's already pulled out half a second on Alonso Chicano behind him. Then it's Mike Floppy Tellier in the 47. Chicano, again, this is a position in those older tires. I'm not sure he can run Philip back down. It would take some kind of a miracle for him to get back to Philip Scott for the race lead, but Mike Tellier could do it. Last week's race winner looks to the inside of Alonso Chicano here. He needs to make this pass quickly with 6 laps to go,
Mike is one of those, where did he come from, as our friends on NASCAR broadcasting say far too often. But Mike, out of nowhere, I was talking about everyone I thought was in contention, and I didn't even think about my good friend there in that 47. Another podium finish, back-to-back. I mean, Mike doesn't want to settle for second place here, but he's definitely not going to be too upset about it. But, hey, let's see if he can hunt that 99 Ninja League machine of Phil Scott down.
Yeah, the battle, we've got 5 laps to go, coming to 4 laps to go. The fight is going to be between Philip Scott and Mike Floppy Tellier. Unless another caution comes out, those will be the 2 cars going for your race lead. Philip Scott, we're looking at the WRN head-to-head. He is losing time to Tellier right now. Tellier is running him down. He is half a second back, 0.4 back as he drives hard into turn 3. Both these guys, tire wear out the window. They are pushing for every 1,000th of a second they can get out of these race cars right now. Into 3 and 4, coming to 3 laps to go in Phoenix.
If I'm Mike and if I'm Philip, I'm thinking, geez, we've had our history. We're friends. We were friendly, but we've definitely had some incidents on track. Mike's probably thinking, would Philip race me clean? Philip would drive it in hard, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drive it in hard, and Mike is going to be right there. Will Mike race him clean? I don't know, Mitchell, and I know both of these guys fairly well.
We saw Tellier drive it in super hard. I think the hardest we've seen anybody drive it into turn number 1 tonight, and he made it stick. 2 laps to go in Phoenix. Tellier now on the bumper of the 99 of Philip Scott into turn 1, sends it down the inside, and we'll see how hard do they race each other. Do they make contact? Does Tellier use the bumper? We've got a lap and a half to go into 3 and 4. Philip Scott jumps down to the inside to cut off Tellier. The white flag flies. 1 lap to go in Phoenix, cutting the back dog leg as much as they can. Philip Scott into turn number 1. Tellier dives in deep, way below the yellow line for Mike Tellier. Can he get the run out of the corner? Philip Scott using the high line, gets a good run down. Does Tellier use the bumper here? Yes, he dives it in! Philip Scott into the wall. Mike Tellier will pick up the win at Phoenix.
Wow, Mitchell, I don't know if your feed was a little bit ahead of mine or you just were clairvoyant there. You knew he was going to use the bumper, and Philip Scott is not going to be too happy about that, Mitchell. That's a heartbreaker for Philip Scott. Usually has his friend Ryder Langle in the chat. Not going to be so happy, but I mean, I think that's what you have to do on the last lap. Mitchell, you see anything dirty about that?
I mean,
Let's
yes
watch it
and
again.
no. We're going to watch some celebratory burnouts here. Then we'll go take a look back at it. Yes, dirty because he put Philip Scott into the wall. But no, because it's the last lap and they are racing for the race win. Mike Tellier did exactly what he needed to do. And I'm not clairvoyant. You could kind of see that the way he was driving into the corner. He was going to take out the 99. I don't think he meant to do it that aggressively. But he got the job done in the end, and we're going to get to talk to him here after the race. Second place, Alonso Chicano. Third place, Lupe Gonzalez. Philip Scott ended up finishing 8th in this race after that. We're going to take a look back at the replay, do a little analyzing of it while we line up our post-race interviews here at Phoenix. We'll look at it again, and I kind of want your take on it too, because I don't want to be the only one, Garrett, who kind of says what I think about this. And we're going to get another look at it. This is coming to the finish line, and I'll kind of let you take a look at it here.
All right, 47 of Mike. Well, I think Philip made up his mind he was going to block. And no matter how deep Mike drove it in there, he was going to make the attempt to block. I think Mike made up his mind that he was going to drive that thing in there as hard as he possibly could. And if he used up Philip, then so be it. And I've raced with both of these guys, and I expected nothing different from them. And I think they were just bound to collide there, and one of them was going to not like the outcome, and it just so happens that the 47 wound up on the top of this. But if Philip was in second, I think Philip would drive it in equally as deep, and if he had to use Mike up, he would. But, I mean, I don't know, Mitchell. It just looks like a guy going for a win and not caring about the consequences, because him and Philip have raced each other aggressively in the past. And I think that was in Mike's mind. But I'm sure we're gonna get a chance to ask him, that's for sure.
Yeah, we're going to get to talk to some drivers. Some drivers need to get in voice chat if any of you are out there listening too. We need people to talk to, like Mike Tellier and Lupe Gonzalez. But there's Mike. There he is. All right. I think you're right, Garrett. You could call that one either way you wanted to, but in the end, those are two guys racing for the win, and it was a situation of what are you willing to do for the win, and in that case, Mike Tellier was willing to do that, and I think they'll talk about it after the race, and in the end, you're going to move on to the next race. We are going to kick off post-race interviews here. I'm not seeing Lupe Gonzalez in voice chat, so we are going to jump to our second place finisher, Alonso Chicano, in the number 25. And you had a great race. Me and Garrett were watching you all night long, Alonso. A lot of speed in that car. Just take us through your night and kind of how it went from your perspective.
Yeah, we had a hot rod today. We had a great car, sponsored by Celsius. It was fun. It was tough. I mean, all night just trying to catch JD. He was the guy to beat for sure, and it was a lot of fun there. Racing against who was it, like Maher and stuff. Like, just I'm exhausted. That's why I'm having trouble finding the words to say, just because that race was pretty exhausting. Finding a really, really tight car and a little bit of drama there in the end. I was on old tires on that final restart, so I don't know how we were able to hang on for P2, but I'll definitely take it. It was a solid run, so that's cool.
Yeah, it was a great run for you. You started in 12th, finished in second place, and I kind of talked about it on the broadcast. You were on much older tires than all those other cars around you. I didn't think you were going to be able to hold on as well as you did. How big was it for you trying to save tires through this run, not knowing maybe you'd be quite in the position with everyone around you on fresher tires, but how much did you work on saving tires here tonight? How big was that for your race strategy?
I mean, throughout the race, before the caution, where we had a split decision, saving tires was a big deal. But I mean, it was nothing compared to clean air. With JD up front, I mean, not just is he just really good at this track, but giving him clean air made him just about almost unbeatable. I mean, you had to wait for. I was praying for a mistake on from him, but clean air just meant everything, and giving it to the best driver on track, at least today, like JD, meant that it was going to be really really tough to get around him. So saving tires meant a lot, uh, to battle just about everyone else in the field. But if you didn't have clean air, it meant you just obviously you weren't going to get the lead. And in the end, there, I mean, my tires were pretty killed just because once I pitted there, the last pit stop I did, those were my last set of tires, and I, gambled all the pot of money I had on that set of tires. So I was really just fighting really hard to try to get around JD, and Edwards was fighting even harder. So I let him go, and I just as I thought, they got together and ended up taking each other out. I was hoping they would race each other hard and maybe slow each other down, and but it sucks that those two got together because made for something very interesting for sure.
Yeah, certainly some talking points there came out of that race. It was a great night for you, though. Love to see the speed you had in that number 25. Next week, we're going to Auto Club. Hope you're looking to join us there. Is Auto Club a track that you like and think you could match this performance at?
Yeah, if I'm available next Monday night, I would definitely love to race. I love Auto Club. That layout is one of my favorites. And that track is a lot of fun. So it should be fun with these cars. I mean, it's going to be a lot of tire conservation again. So I'm expecting a little bit of similarity with that. But as long as I'm available, I'll try my best to be there.
Well, certainly hoping to see you again, Alonso. It was a great run for you tonight. Before I let you go, though, give you the microphone to give any shout outs you would like to anybody who might be watching tonight on the World Racing Network.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'd like to thank Celsius Energy for being on board. We got a new flavor out. It's mandarin marshmallow, so can't wait to give it a try, and hopefully, some other people who are listening want to give it a try. The car looks great paint scheme, great looking car. All our other partners and sponsors like Grid Network, In the Pits News, Habanero's Mexican Grill, everyone at Radius Racing and C2 Graphics. And of course, I'd like to thank you guys for broadcasting so we can show our friends and families what we do. So I'd like to thank everyone watching as well.
Yeah, well, thank you for stopping by and chatting with us, Alonso. Congratulations on your second place finish here tonight. Looking forward to maybe seeing more of you up at the front next week at Auto Club.
Thank you.
That was tonight's second place finisher, Alonso Chicano, driver of the number 25. It was a great run for him. Now it's time to talk to tonight's race winner, and for that I turn to my broadcast partner, Garrett Gleason.
Yeah, Mitchell, I'm working my way through security. A lot more security in Victory Lane this week than last week. Mike, I've known you forever in the day. I alluded to what was coming, and still it took the words out of our mouth. Just run us through that last lap. Going for it all there, buddy.
I mean, that's basically it, going for it all. I know it's not a very ethical way to win a race. I know it's not how most people would want to win a race. I really don't like winning races like this. I normally don't ever win a race like this. I'm normally the one being moved for the win like this. So I unfortunately, once again, it's Philip on the receiving end. I was kind of hoping just to get under him and kind of have like a Hemrick-Cindric battle to the line for like the championship they had a couple years ago, but definitely got him a lot more than that. Good for him on not freaking out, and I definitely have one coming back to me at some point in time. Like I said, this isn't a good win. This isn't a nice win. This is just I'm here talking with you guys because I happen to wreck a guy to win.
Well, Mike, I agree with the theory that a win's a win. I mean, you know that our careers have hot streaks, cold streaks. I mean, you saw Victory Lane last week. You didn't think you'd be back there. We talked to you last week. You didn't think like, hey, next week I'm gonna go to Phoenix and I'm gonna have a chance to win and get the 99 out of the way and take the checker flag. So I mean, you have to take every opportunity. And I think anyone that's a race car driver at heart knows how hard it is to win these things, especially with a small field but a stacked field talent wise here at Total Nonstop Racing. So anyone who says anything otherwise, I feel like they're lying just a little bit. But Mike, going back to it, I said I've known you forever, and our viewers can attest to that. But 2023 seems like you have a little bit of a different mentality out there. Is it more so you're having fun, or more so you're almost being less unselfish out there? You've always been unselfish, good teammate. Are you trying to do more for Mike this season?
Like I pointed on at the end of last season, I'm sick of being the nice guy to finish last. I always seem like at the end of a battle on the track, I would get the short end of the stick. So I don't know, I kind of got my elbows up, I guess, this year. We're back in a car that I'm decent at. I wasn't very good driving the next gen, so to come back in the Xfinity car is nice. I enjoy them. They're fun. So yeah, like I said, I don't know. I don't like this win. I'll take a back-to-back win at TNR. I don't think I've ever had one like in ever. So this is kind of cool, but not how I like to win a race. Probably won't ever do this again. I don't feel good talking to you guys right now.
Yeah, I can tell you're a little bit uncomfortable, so we'll move on with this week. I mean, it's a win. Let's be done with it. We'll talk about it in our groups and whatnot. But next week, headed to Auto Club, fun track, multiple grooves. What are you expecting out there? Are you expecting to you expecting to run up front? You expecting to survive, conserve tires? What do you think the mentality is going into next week? Or are you going to be looking for payback from Philip Scott?
I think if I see Philip next week, I'm just gonna move over and lift a little bit, and give him plenty of space. He deserves it. Yeah, no, I don't know. I think it's gonna be a lot of wall riding. I think there's an extra grip lane up at the top of the track in these cars, so I think you'll see some guys running the Larson line or the Reddick line up at the top. I'm probably gonna be bottom feeding, trying to hug the bottom because I can't run the wall. And then yeah, just trying to stay on the end of the draft and not fall off. I think that's going to be the key to just even have a chance next week. Is just trying to stay with that front pack at all costs.
Well, I just want to tell you on your way to the track next week, just remember Philip Scott is a ninja, and he probably can kill you just by looking at you. So just be careful out there, bud. But before we let you go, congratulations on the win, even though you don't feel right about it, but just give your sponsors and your teammates a shout out, because you definitely deserved it, because you did run up front and put yourself in that position.
Yeah, so Sky Motorsports for having me on the team. Matt Rod, I know he had an issue earlier and his engine blew up, so he couldn't finish. Simrap Market for being on the car. Elwood Designs and Alan Elwood for painting it. TNR for hosting this great series, WRN for broadcasting every week. My kids, even though they're probably not watching me, maybe one day they'll see a broadcast and I'll be able to say, "Hey guys, I love you." Yeah, that's it.
Well, thanks, buddy. Congratulations, and we'll see you next week at Auto Club. Back to you, Mitchell.
Yeah, that was tonight's race winner, Mike Floppy Tellier. You heard it, Garrett. He made the move for the race win. He said that he doesn't love what he did, but in the end, he is going to walk away the race winner from tonight's race, and he did what he needed to do. And putting aside away that last lap, he and Philip Scott put on a great show for the viewers here tonight. That was a great battle coming to the line, and throughout the night, Phoenix did not disappoint. I said at the top of the broadcast that we were in for a treat, and tonight's race did not disappoint whatsoever.
No, Mitchell, we are 2 for 2 here on WRN TNR broadcast for exciting last second passes, and it's been remarkable. And if we could have that type of racing, minus the chaotic finish next week at Auto Club, a multiple groove racetrack where, like Mike said, I expect to see guys riding up against that wall, using momentum, and just putting on a heck of a show. The sky is the limit for both our companies here, Mitchell, and it's a pleasure to work with you and an absolute privilege to do this week after week. So I hope people tune in and really start enjoying this, because it's amazing from our vantage point.
Yes, certainly these opening 2 races have been a great way to start the season for the Total Nonstop Racing Grand National Series, sponsored by Schue Lawn Service here on the World Racing Network. Glad to have you guys with us here in 2023. Want to thank everybody who's been out in the chat tonight's broadcast. John Canizaro, we've seen him a little bit saying in the chat, maybe we'll see the Wild Child get back out on track. That would be very fun to watch from the broadcast booth. Also, the Windsors out in the chat: Will Radcliffe, Tristan Maher, Johnny Williams, Garrett Gleason. Marie was in the chat earlier rooting for Alonso Chicano, and everybody else who tuned into tonight's stream. Thank you for spending your Monday night with us instead of ESPN. Garrett, before we go off air, do you have any updates too? I'll let you check while I'm running through tonight's finishing order, because I'm curious how the national championship game is going too. But I will take it through tonight's finishing order here in the Phoenix 150. It was Mike Floppy Tellier picking up his second win of the season, 2 for 2. He'll be looking for the hat trick next week in Auto Club. Alonso Chicano finishes in the second place position. Lupe Gonzalez got a podium. Didn't see Lupe in chat. I'll give it one more quick check. I don't see him in voice chat. But Lupe Gonzalez did finish it off in the podium. J.D. Laird rebounded back from that incident with Bill Edwards to finish in the 4th position. So still a solid night for J.D. Laird, but certainly not what he wanted after being the dominant car tonight. Jake Bustos finishes in the 5th place position. A solid run once again for Jake Bustos. Vincent Valvano finishes in 6th. Stephen Doziak in 7th. Philip Scott came so close, ends up in the 8th place position. David Duran 9th, and Tristan Thuggy Maher rounds out your top 10. Then at 11th, it was Bill Edwards. 12th, Robert Tripp. 13th was Bob Giaquinto. 14th, Jason Schue, and Matthew Rodriguez with the DNF finish here tonight in the 15th position. And that is tonight's starting order. And now, Garrett, how is the national championship game going?
Well, it's been over since
really?
pretty much it started, Mitchell. It's 45-7 in the third quarter. 7 minutes left in the third quarter. Georgia is beating up on the feel-good story of the college football season, the TCU Horned Frogs. So, hey, TCU, nothing to be ashamed of, but Georgia is just clearly the better team.
I think a lot of people probably saw that one coming, but I mean, there's still time for the comeback. It was a good run. It was good games we saw from college football too. Some really good semifinal games this year. But turning it back here to the Total Nonstop Racing League. Next week is Auto Club. We'll have that for you. Same time here, 8:05 Eastern on the World Racing Network. For myself, Mitchell Adams, my broadcast partner, Garrett Gleason, and for all the sponsors here in the Total Nonstop Racing Grand National Series, sponsored by Schue Lawn Service. Schue Lawn Service, the Tabletop Trio podcast, and Stay Tuned Sports. And for all of you watching at home, I hope you all stay safe, have fun, and we will see you next week.